Hello, good evening. Welcome to Camnet Television News. My name is Jeffrey Ziamba. The top stories in the news tonight. LUSAKA High Court sets June 22nd for the sentencing of the two abductors. MWANZA ditches PF as MWAMBA wishes him well. Names of shortlisted candidates under the Defense Wing's recruitments to be unveiled. In international news, the World Health Organization declares end to MARBURG virus outbreak. In sports news, CHIPOLOPOLO intensified training ahead of game against Ivory Coast.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. RenGlow, your smart irrigation partner.
Hello again, another news in detail. Keeper Zambia Foundation KZF Executive Director Ezra Banda has underscored the need to start implementing climate-responsive techniques at community level using part of the Constituency Development Fund CDF. Speaking to Camnet News, Mr. Banda notes that no cooperative seems to be interested in tackling climate change matters, stating that most cooperatives are inclined to chicken rearing and other similar ventures. Meanwhile, Green Clean Energy founder Andrew Muima says unless serious measures are put up to curb charcoal burning in the country, the fight against climate change is in vain. More in this report.
From people losing their homes to crops of many farmers across the country being destroyed by either floods or droughts, the effects of climate change in Zambia can now be told at personal level, a different story from the past, where many people could not relate, as most only heard of the negative effects of climate change from other countries. The Keeper Zambia Foundation, a non-governmental organization aiming at combating climate change, says it has observed a lack of proactiveness in trying to combat climate change, especially at community level. Speaking to Camnet News, KZF Executive Director Ezra Banda says there is need for heavy investment in this sector, adding that a part of available funding like Constituency Development Fund should be used towards fighting climate change. He knows that there is need to encourage citizens to form cooperatives in this area, unlike the traditional models of chicken rearing, among other similar ventures.
I think there is a lot that needs to be done because when you look at the issues of funding, the funding is not really coming forth to ensure that people start working towards adaptation. Because I think here on the climate issues are already with us now. So what we need now is to start putting in corrective measures. So I believe the government need to move on, but not only the government. We have also cooperating partners, those who have made some pledges on climate finance. I think those monies need to start coming in. And then we need to utilize some of the resources which are coming out from the carbon trade so that we can see how best we can start addressing the climate change effect. Then on the other side, I know that the government is making an effort under CDF, there's 5% for disaster. Then when you look at it, the 5% were on good. It could be a bit of some monies around there, but I'm yet to learn its application because that money needs to be put to good use so that people start not reacting. What we want, if that money is sitting there, the most important, what we need is people to start becoming proactive.
Meanwhile, Green Clean Energy founder Andrew Muima has also added his voice in the climate conversation with a focus on ending charcoal burning.
We cannot afford to start also losing properties, losing lives because of the floods and controllable floods. And that's why we've decided to say, no, let's all come together. We've got people, business people, we've got environmentalists, we've got other activists who have come on board to say, no, it's time to ban charcoal and look for other alternatives. And all what we're asking is that we know government is one of the major stakeholders in this. We want ourselves as the local communities to convince others and then ask government to put legislation that will make sure that there is protection and care for our environment.
The stakeholders say only the above measures will help the country make significant progress in the fight against climate change. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Government says over 5,000 candidates have been shortlisted for possible recruitment under the Zambia Army, Zambia National Service and the Zambia Air Force. Defense Minister Ambrose Lufuma told a media briefing in Lusaka Thursday afternoon that the names of shortlisted candidates will be published on the 12th, the 14th and the 16th of June 2023. Mr. Lufuma says the names will be published in public print media as well as online platforms of the ministry and respective defense wings. He says a total of 5,000 are expected to be trained and after completing various stages of the interview, which include medical, physical and aptitude tests. He says the delay to publish names of the candidates was to ensure that the process is free and fair. The minister further says that government plans to make the recruitments annual to reduce on high unemployment levels in the country.
The names of shortlisted candidates will be published in the Times of Zambia and the Daily Mail on Monday, the 12th of June, on Wednesday, the 14th of June, and Friday, the 16th of June, 2023. The same will be published on the Ministry of Defense, the Army, Zambia Air Force and Zambia National Service websites. The shortlisted candidates are expected to report to the provincial centers on Sunday, the 18th June 2023. Once again, allow me to urge our youths to exhibit the same patience and attitude they showed during phase 1 so that the process can run smoothly. The third phase will be shortlisting and publication of successful candidates after various stages of the interview process. That is medical, you have to go through medical, the physical examinations and aptitude tests. This of course is a long and meticulous stage and it will be carried out in different provincial centers and culminates into commencement of military training in the various designated training centers.
Ministry of Information and Media Director spokesperson Tabo Kawana has warned those peddling false information that government is fighting the Catholic Church will be sternly dealt with. Speaking with Camnet TV News, Mr. Kawana says it is not true that the Ministry of Home Affairs has written a letter to the Vatican calling for disciplinary action against the priests who were involved in the controversial story pertaining to grafts. He says State House has not issued any statements regarding priests, hence the government will deal with those spreading falsehoods to alarm the nation.
We have noted with great concern that there is publication on social media of 2 letters, one purporting to have been written by the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Internal Affairs and the other by His Excellency the President. And they are titled, Contain the Catholic Church in Zambia, Hichilema. Now I want to state that those 2 letters or documents are false, they are non-existent and they are not from the Ministry or State House. And we want to take the opportunity to warn all online administrators of publications that operate online that publicizing false information aimed at alarming the nation and causing division is an offense before the law. And once you are caught up, you will face the law. And this I am saying to the administrators of the Patriotic Front page and that of the Grindstone television page, both are known to us, and I want to tell you that you will face the music, you will face the law, because it is time that as a nation we began to do things correctly. You cannot start publicizing such information, alarming information, false and fake as it is, but you deliberately put it out there, all aimed at trying to achieve whatever ulterior motives you have and the malicious nature of your thoughts. So you will answer as to where you got those fake documents, and the law, the long arm of the law, will visit you.
Patriotic Front PF member and media director Antonio MWANZA has resigned from the party, citing lack of willingness by the party's committee to hold a general conference and provide direction to its members. He charges that he sees the party's vision being derailed by some members who do not mean well. He said some of the excuses being given by some party members not to hold the general conference are motivated by selfish interests and are baseless.
The opposition Patriotic Front has continued to lose members as the nation Thursday, 8th June 2023, was treated to unexpected information of the resignation of Antonio MWANZA from Zambia's major opposition political party as its media director. Mr. MWANZA, who was accused of being a sellout, claimed to be a politician who has been standing with the people, charging that he defended the PF at a time when people were ashamed to do so, thus challenging those who questioned his loyalty to the party. Mr. MWANZA says the decision to leave the party has been necessitated by the lack of willingness by some party central committee members to hold a general conference and provide direction for the general membership.
Who has fought for the Patriotic Front? Who has defended the Patriotic Front? If there is anyone who defines what loyalty is, dedication, selflessness, commitment to duty is, that person is Antonio Mourinho MWANZA. I have fought for this party, the Patriotic Front. I've spent the last 5 years defending things that nobody was ready to go on radio, on TV to defend. I've spoken in favor of the party, even when it was not fashionable to do so.
He charges that he sees the party's vision being derailed by some members who do not mean well.
No mobilization that is going on. We have left this party to a few individuals that are fighting for the soul of this party. There is no direction. There is no hope. And because of that, I want to announce that today I have decided to take the following steps. Number one, I have decided to step down as the media director of the Patriotic Front effective 31st of June. I have already written the letter of resignation to the party. Subsequently, I have decided to withdraw my membership as a member of the Patriotic Front.
Social scientist Innocent Kolala has charged that he has been vindicated for having earlier suggested that the failure by the PF to rebrand and hold a conference to elect its leader was a path to political suicide.
This is the very political party which promised the Zambian people, especially its members, that they were going to rebrand. How do you rebrand with the same people who were rejected by the Zambian people? And not only that, this is the only political party which, after losing power, up to date, it hasn't had the leader in terms of the president who is supposed to lead this political party. And these are some of the reasons why a lot of people have lost patience and hope to this political party to be resuscitated, because from the time it has been in intensive care, it is just going down, down, down until it will completely be nowhere to be seen.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
Meanwhile, Patriotic Front PF Deputy Chairperson for Information and Publicity, MWAMBA, confirmed receipt of Mr. MWANZA's resignation letter, which was submitted yesterday. Mr. MWAMBA, however, said the letter only indicated that Mr. MWANZA had resigned his position as media director and not from the party. Mr. MWAMBA says the party has noted the concerns remarks highlighted by Mr. MWANZA, which he said that they are regarded as his personal opinions. He has since wished Mr. MWANZA well.
Mr. Antonio MWANZA has been a member of our party secretariat. He also held the position of media director under the office of the Secretary General. We have learned through the media that Mr. MWANZA has since resigned his party position, and he has also resigned as a member of the Patriotic Front. We wish Mr. Antonio MWANZA well in his future endeavors and political pursuits. I would like to use this opportunity that the Central Committee is meeting on Saturday with its ongoing work to prepare for both the Constitutional and General Conference. The party is about to adopt the Constitution that will then usher in the final preparations for the General Conference. We wish to encourage our members to stay steadfast, to remain resolute, and ensure that the party, continues to grow after, it lost power in 2021.
The LUSAKA High Court has set June 22nd as the date for sentencing of the two men alleged to have abducted 13 girls in Lusaka's Chalala area, the dates are 16th June and set for sentencing hearing where the victims will give evidence in camera. In this matter, James Walia and Matthew Sikaonga are charged with 54 offenses against humanity comprising attempted abduction, aggravated assault, abduction and rape, among others. This is after the matter came up for presentation of facts before High Court Judge Charles Kafunda. More in this report.
The Lusaka High Court was treated to silence for over 2 hours as James Mulenga and Matthew Sikaonga, alleged to have abducted 13 girls in Lusaka's Chalara area between March and October 2022, appeared before High Court Judge Charles Kafunda. The duo, who pleaded guilty to 54 counts against humanity, are believed to have taken hostage of 13 women in Lusaka for purposes of sexual abuse and assault with intent to steal. On 5th June 2023, appearing before High Court Judge Charles Kafunda, the alleged abductors confessed to charges of rape, attempted abduction, abduction of a child, aggravated assault with intent to steal, assault occasioning actual bodily harm, and causing grievous harm. During the presentation of facts, the convicts are alleged to have threatened to use magic on the 13 girls who were under their captives by casting a spell of madness if they attempt to escape. The duo, who engaged in magic, had a coffin in their custody used for threats and also demanded for ransom from relatives of each of the 13 girls. The judge has also set June 16, 2023 for sentencing hearing where the victims will give evidence in camera and judgment will be passed on 22nd June 2023. Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka.
A regulatory officer at Airtel Network, Monica Chisanga, 30, has testified before Chief Resident Magistrate Davis Chimbwili how Patriotic Front sympathizer Francis Muchema's core records were indicating that he is in Lusaka when in fact not. Ms. Chisanga testified that in 2020, Muchema was an employee of ZESCO and pocketed allowances on the pretext of working from outside Lusaka when in fact not. This is in a matter in which Mr. Muchema is jointly charged with 2 others with 10 charges of money laundering related charges. More in the following report.
A controlling officer at Airtel Network, Monica Chisanga, 30, and an application support engineer at MTN Zambia, Roger Mwembo, 28, have testified before Lusaka Resident Magistrate Davis Chiwili that according to the core recordings, Patriotic Front cadre Francis Muchema, commonly known as Commander 2, was never in the designated workplace he applied for under ZESCO. Muchema, being an employee of ZESCO according to the core records, on 11th January 2022 is alleged to have been between Silverest, Betwe, Kamwala, Arakan, Garden and later in Silverest in Lusaka province. The officer at Airtel testifies that on 12 January 2020, the accused was in Lusaka despite filing an interest at ZESCO to travel to Luapula on 21st, 23rd, 25th and 26th January 2020. In her testimony, she says at the time Muchemwa was alleged to have applied to travel and work in Nakonde, Livingstone, Kasama, Copperbelt, Chipata, Luapula, among other areas between 11th January 2020 to 28th August 2021. The core record showed he was in Lusaka. In this matter, Mr. Muchemwa is jointly charged with 2 others with 10 charges of money laundering related charges. The trio is facing 10 counts of possession of property suspected to be proceeds of crime and failure to comply with the provision of the Income Tax Act. It is alleged that Muchemwa, popularly known as Commander 2, between January 1st, 2020 and August 31st, 2021 in Lusaka, dishonestly obtained a pecuniary advantage in the sum of 141,400 kwacha in the form of subsistence allowances from ZESCO Limited on the pretext that he undertook official trips when in fact not. Lusaka resident magistrate Davis Chiwidi has adjourned the matter to 16th and 26th June 2023 for continued trial. Nelson Zulu for Camnet News in Lusaka.
A Lusaka man alleged to have broken into movie TV has been jailed for 6 years. In passing judgment, Lusaka magistrate Trevor Kasanda sentenced Kampamba Mwape, who on unknown dates jointly broke and entered a movie TV building. Kampamba has been sentenced to 6 years imprisonment, and accused number 3 and 4 were acquitted as they were found with no charge. Independent Lumezi Member of Parliament Munia Zulu has failed to appear before Lusaka Chief Resident Magistrate Davis Chimbweli when the matter came up for possible plea. This is in a matter where Mr. Zulu is facing 3 counts of libel defamation against Minister of Finance Dr. Stumbeko Msokotwane, Minister of Infrastructure Charles Melopi, and Road Development Agency Board Chairperson Mauchand Kuntawala. In count 1 and 2, it is alleged that on the 21st of March 2023, Mr. Zulu published a defamatory statement against Dr. Stumbeko Msokotwane and Charles Melopi by way of a press conference in which he alleged that the 2 ministers corruptly received money amounting to $250,000 each through a bank transfer from an unknown company. In the 3rd count, Mr. Zulu is alleged to have published a defamatory statement in which he alleged that Mauchand Kuntawala corruptly sent money amounting to $150,000 to Mr. Charles Melopi 2 days before his appointment as board chairman for Road Development Agency RDA. But when the matter came up for plea, Munia Zulu's defense counsel Nkula Bota did not know where his client was despite communicating with him. Chief Register Magistrate Davis Chimbweli has since adjourned the matter to tomorrow. This is Camnet Television News. Join us for more news after this break.
In our quest to save nations and develop Africa, Savenda is investing in the agriculture sector so as to produce supply for both local and international markets. Housing over 12,000 pullets that are nurtured and fed with our locally made stock feed that comes from our own locally grown maize and soya beans, all processed from our recently installed milling and mixing plant. Our over 95,000 layers have an output capacity of over 1,500 trays of fresh eggs per day that are carefully selected and packaged for all the leading stores and supermarkets nationwide. Our greenhouses are fitted with the latest irrigation system, and the seedlings are nurtured to ensure only healthy plants reach the fields. With our deliberate planting schedule, we are better placed to supply constantly without interruption, thus reliable. Savenda Farms is also changing lives of its dedicated workforce drawn from the local community and beyond. So the next time you think fresh and green, think Savenda Farms.
Deborah, have you connected to the Wi-Fi on the bus? It's fast, it's amazing. I've just downloaded my books and I'm about to complete the series. It's nice, too, me.
No, I'm actually watching a reality show. He's about to propose. Oh, so sweet.
Make your trip seem short yet comfortable and safe when you use the UBZ luxurious fully air-conditioned coaches that come fitted with amazing onboard entertainment, passenger information services, coffee-making facilities and fridge for your hot and cold beverages, free and interrupted Wi-Fi for your gadgets, phone charging facilities, comfortable seats that recline to offer extra resting posture, safety seat belts, adjustable reading lights for each traveling client, and of course, clean flushing toilets for your convenience. So travel in luxury and safety with UBZ Luxurious Coaches. UBZ will always take you there.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. RenGlow, your smart irrigation partner.
For immediate coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet television, call the numbers on your screen. Camnet television, bringing to your screens fair news, impartial news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News. Camnet Television, not just another channel.
Welcome back. Government has called for collaboration if Zambia is to realize its 2030 agenda of providing clean water and sanitation for all. Ministry of Water Development and Sanitation Director for Water Supply and Sanitation, Zizwani Piri, told a media briefing in Lusaka that water challenges have continued to pose a danger of diseases for ordinary citizens, hence the need for investment in the sector. He was speaking ahead of the Zambia Water Forum ZAWEFA slated for June 14th, 2023, aimed at bringing together various stakeholders from the water and sanitation sector to discuss ways of making clean water and sanitation accessible to all. More in the following report.
Close to 2 billion people globally are at risk of water scarcity, while 83% of fresh water and a third of wetlands have been lost gradually over the years, according to the Worldwide Fund for Nature, WWF. Zambia has not been left unaffected, as water continues to be a challenge in various parts of the country, exposing citizens to diseases that come as a result of poor hygiene, as well as drinking contaminated water, hence posing as a threat to the attainment of United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 6, which Zambia, along with other UN member countries, hope to provide clean water and sanitation for all citizens by 2030. Thursday, various stakeholders sat ahead of the 2023 Zambia Water Forum and Exhibition Annual Conference, expected to be held from 12th to 14th June 2023, and addressed the media on the state of the water sector in Zambia. Speaking at the meeting, Minister of Water Development and Sanitation Permanent Secretary Joka Lusa, who was represented by Director for Water and Sanitation Engineer Zizwani Piri, says there is need for heavy funding in the water sector.
As a ministry responsible for water development, it is gratifying to see stakeholders such as ZAWAFE playing a role in supplementing government's effort in the vision to ensure increased access to clean and safe water as well as adequate sanitation for all as enshrined in Zambia's 8th National Development Plan, Vision 2030 and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 6. Water and adequate sanitation are at the center of national development because the two play a critical role in reducing exposure and the spread of diseases. It can help save lives, drive economic growth, keep children in schools, and increase opportunities for communities especially for women and girls.
Other stakeholders, among them the Zambezi River Authority and the Worldwide Fund for Nature, which is the sponsor of the event, also spoke out.
So, what are the opportunities? We are happy. We have Zambezi River Authority this year who have partnered with us. We have WWF who have partnered with us. It means that last year when they heard what we've been doing, they came to us to try to form up this partnership with them so that we can move this water forward.
Look at the water security aspect. How much water do we use for hydropower generation from the Kariba Dam? How much water is available? How much water would we want to use? This year the projection was about 40 billion cubic meters, but with these climate change scenarios, it's been downscaled to about 26 billion. So already you can see the need to conserve water, the need to have this water security aspect in context.
We've invested so far over 380,000 in a program being supported by ourselves and the Red Cross, where we want to see how nature-based solutions can be used in water security. To this effect, we've taken the Lukanga and the areas around as a pilot, and this is the baby steps we're talking about. So what we are saying is, Professor, skin in the game. We have put in 380,000 for right now, and there's more to come because we want to leverage on these monies to see how we can now create further investments in wetlands and other areas of water investments.
The annual forum is expected to bring together various stakeholders, including those from the academic sector, to discuss ways of improving water provision in Zambia. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
The Community Action Against Corruption is shocked that up to now, the Auditor General's office has not issued an official statement on the alleged missing 65 million kwacha confiscated from Faith Musonda. Organization Chief Executive Officer Brighton Tembo says the silence by the Auditor General's office is a confirmation that the letter originated from that office. Mr. Tembo charges that this indicates that the Auditor General's office is standing in support of the letter, which now stands to contradict all the statements issued by government over the 65 million kwacha.
You know, it is very much shocking to learn that up to now, the Auditor General's office has not issued a statement denying that the letter, which is at the center of the allegation that the 65 million kwacha confiscated from Faith Musonda has been misappropriated or it has been misused. It is surprising. Why should it take 24 hours, 48 hours, or this long by the Auditor General's office to distance itself from that letter, if that letter never came from them? Because at the moment, as things stand, that letter is a contradiction. It is now standing in contradiction with whichever statement government has made concerning that 65 million kwacha. And we can say whatever statement will come from the Auditor General's office denying that the letter never came from them will be taken as a damage control measure. But otherwise, the silence which has been shown so far is indicative of a situation where the letter must have come from them.
Republican President Hakainde Hichilema has challenged African countries to stop being spectators on the global economic stage, but look amongst themselves for solutions to the challenges that the continent is faced with before going beyond the continent. President Hichilema has since called on COMESA member states to actualize what COMESA was created for by ensuring that all barriers to trade are eliminated. The head of state says Africa is endowed with many natural resources that should be utilized to full capacity in order to promote production and value addition. The president was speaking during the official opening of the 22nd Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, COMESA Heads of State and Governments Summit in Lusaka Thursday. Meanwhile, President Hichilema has been appointed chairperson for COMESA, which will run up to 2026. And the outgoing chairperson and Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi says African leaders must prioritize development to better the lives of the people. More in this report.
The 22nd COMESA Head of State and Government Summit has been held here in Lusaka under the theme Economic Integration for a Thriving COMESA, anchored on green investment, value addition and tourism. Zambia's President Hakainde Hichilema led other head of state such as Malawi's President Lazarus Chakwera, Kenya's President William Ruto and the Egyptian President, who are part of the head of state attending the summit. And Zambia's President Hakainde Hichilema, who officially opened the summit, has spoken to the need for peace on the African continent as well as political stability, as this will be the only way that Africa can freely trade amongst each other in an environment that is conducive.
We have a mammoth task ahead of us to take stock of where we are, obviously where we're coming from, where we are, and define growth and the path we want to walk towards that growth that is resilient and can survive, can ameliorate the exogenous variables that we face, forces outside our control, are better managed when we are stronger, when we manage the variables that we control much better. Then we can survive these shocks.
President Hakainde Hichilema has officially been appointed as a chairperson for COMESA for the next 24 months and has taken over from the Egyptian President Abdul el-Sisi. The Egyptian President, in his outgoing message, spoke to the need for Africa to ensure that it actualizes its plans and says that can only be done if Africa looks amongst itself.
Have experienced certain circumstances in Egypt, and we came out of these circumstances with one important lesson learned, that peaceful solutions are the only way ahead, and the only way countries can evolve and live. They are the only way where we can achieve security and stability, bring about development and prosperity to the people, away from the other side, the other dark side that is represented in conflicts and disputes.
And Zambia's President Hakainde Hichilema, who spoke shortly after accepting the responsibility that has been conferred on him, has also emphasized the need for Africa to look to itself before it can go to look to outside for solutions that pertain to the problems that the African continent is faced with.
Quickly jump to investors outside the continent, outside our own COMESA, outside our East African community, outside SADC, outside ECOWAS, as though that is the tradition and the grain in us is to think along those lines. I would like us to think inside first before we think outside, because that is what is logical, that is what is normal.
And COMESA Secretary General Chileshe Kapwepwe is optimistic that President Hichilema will deliver in his duty as chairperson of COMESA.
All these stakeholders and others played a pivotal role in support of our significant achievements. I have no doubt that with our continued collaboration, we shall continue to propel the common market to greater heights.
When all is said and done, all that the African continent now looks to is to see the implementation of what has been laid on the table, and this can only happen if the head of states, the leaders, and everyone on the African continent plays their part. Prudence Shorter, reporting for Camnet TV News.
The African Union, AU, says Africa is on course towards the single African currency, which will break barriers of trade on the African continent. AU Commissioner for Trade Albert Muchanga says in 2021, the head of states and movements adopted the microeconomic convergence criteria, which is going to be implemented by the African Monitoring Institute, whose headquarters will be in Nigeria, which will also house the African Central Bank. Mr. Muchanga says the AU has since partnered with the African Development Bank, which will raise resources for the establishment of the African Central Bank. Meanwhile, Kenyan President William Ruto says this disparages in African currency has been one of the hindering factors to development which should be addressed. More in this report.
Some African leaders have for the first time since being elected into office attended the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa COMESA Heads of State and Government Summit, which was being held in Lusaka, Zambia. Among them is Kenya's President William Ruto and Malawi's President Lazarus Chakwera. And Kenya's president in his address raised concerns over barriers to African trade, among them the dependence on foreign currency that has continued to hamper development on the African continent.
Not only to make our case, but Africa has an opportunity to provide solutions on the existential threat to humanity of climate change. We are not going anymore to go and lament and to look for pity and to look for sympathy from anybody. We are going to state our case because Africa can provide solutions as much as everybody else can.
Mr. Ruto has since called on COMESA member states to deal with the aspect of currency to allow for the free flow of trade.
Our economic integration is a matter of urgency because since the time we ratified the African Continental Free Trade Area, there have already been forces from beyond our continent moving into position to work our own economic framework to their advantage rather than to ours. As such, if we do not quickly get our act together with economic integration on our own terms, it may very well be that by the time we fully integrate, the mechanism will have already been rigged against us to ensure that the beneficiaries of our economic integration are non-African economies.
Libya's Vice President Musa Al-Koni has also added his voice.
Done by the IGAD and the African Union and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the United States of America, the efforts they are exerting to solve the problem, and also Libya is prepared to participate in these efforts to appease the situation in the neighboring Sudan.
Meanwhile, the African Union, through its Commissioner for Trade, Albert Muchanga, says Africa is on course towards the single African currency and that the headquarters of the African Central Bank will be in Abuja, Nigeria.
We are on course towards a single African currency. In 2021, the heads of state and government adopted the macroeconomic convergence criteria. And this criteria is going to be implemented by the African Monetary Institute, whose headquarters will be in Abuja, Nigeria, which is also going to be the headquarters of the African Central Bank.
Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
You're watching Camnet Television and not just another channel. We'll go for our second and final break. We'll be back with international sports news after the break.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. RainGlow, your smart irrigation partner.
And now in international news, the UN's health agency on Thursday declared an end to a nearly 4-month outbreak of MARBURG virus in Equatorial Guinea, saying the disease, a cousin of Ebola, had caused 35 confirmed or suspected deaths. The highly virulent microbe causes severe fever, often accompanied by bleeding and organ failure. It is part of the so-called filovirus family that includes Ebola hemorrhagic fever, which has caused several deadly epidemics in Western and Central Africa. The outbreak, declared on February 13, was the first of its kind in Equatorial Guinea, a small coastal state in central Western Africa. Here's a roundup of international news for more.
The World Health Organization, WHO, has declared an end to a nearly 4-month outbreak of the Marburg virus in Equatorial Guinea. The UN's health agency, in a statement Thursday, said the disease, a cousin of Ebola, had caused 35 confirmed or suspected deaths. The outbreak, declared on February 13, was the first of its kind in Equatorial Guinea in central Western Africa. The highly virulent microbe causes severe fever, often accompanied by bleeding and organ failure. The statement paid tribute to local health workers for the hard work in tackling the outbreak, much of which entails tracing and isolating people in contact with patients. The virus takes its name from the German city of Marburg, where it was first identified in 1967.
The Speaker of the Israeli Knesset and his Moroccan counterpart signed parliamentary agreements after their meeting in Rabat on Thursday. Amir Ohana's invitation to Morocco is the first to be extended to the Speaker of the Israeli Parliament by a Muslim country. Ohana was also expected to meet with senior Moroccan officials and the leaders of the local Jewish community. Demonstrators gathered outside the Moroccan parliament in Rabat to protest against the visit of Ohana. The protesters at the rally, organized by the Moroccan Front in support of Palestine, waved Palestinian flags and held placards critical of Israel. We cannot accept that the head of the Israeli parliament can come here with total impunity, even though the Israeli parliament is currently an extreme right-wing parliament dominated by fascists, and is coming here to be received by the Moroccan parliament. So we're here as the Moroccan Front in support of Palestine and against normalization. We're here today to tell the president of the Moroccan parliament that he has no right to receive the Zionist who has committed war crimes, to receive him here on Moroccan soil, and even less in the name of the Moroccan people. Israel and Morocco resumed their diplomatic relations in December of 2020 after they were suspended in 2000 following the outbreak of the Second Palestinian Intifada. Morocco became the 4th Arab country to normalize ties with Israel in 2020 after the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain and Sudan.
It's now time for sports news. Now, sports news tonight, the Zambia national soccer team has intensified training at its South African camp in preparation for the AFCON qualifier against Ivory Coast at the MWANZA Stadium in Ndola on Sunday. The team's morale was boosted by the arrival of Patson Daka of Leicester City, Lamek Banda of Leeds, Frankie Musonda, AYR United, and Gordon Mafuenta, MFK Viskov. Others summoned for national duty and yet to join camp in South Africa include Aim Mabika of Toronto FC and Stopela Sunzu of Jinang Jiangsu. According to Football Association of Zambia FA's Facebook posting, coach Avram Grant, who has set up base in Johannesburg for his side, only awaits 3 more players to arrive following the arrival of the quartet. Team physical trainer Jamie Lawrence has prescribed varying gym drills for his players as he warms up the lads for an intensive week-long camp. The CHIPOLOPOLO boys are expected to head to Ndola on the 13th of June for the final stages of the preparation for the match. Coach Avram Grant, who has prescribed a retreat-like atmosphere for his troops to focus on the assignment at hand, says he is happy with the early turnout of his players. Zambia will host AFCON hosts and favorites Ivory Coast at the MWANZA Stadium in a Group H encounter tie in which Zambia needs a point to qualify, while Comoros are 3 points behind Zambia, with Lesotho at the bottom with 1 point. Meanwhile, United States-based defender Aim Mabika has finally been issued with a Zambian passport and is eligible to play for the CHIPOLOPOLO boys. Football Association of Zambia FA's General Secretary Ruben Kamanga confirmed the development this evening. Mabika was named in Avram Grant's provisional squad for the penultimate AFCON qualifier against Ivory Coast, scheduled for the 17th of June at Levi Mwanawasa Stadium in Ndola. The FAS General Secretary Ruben Kamanga has confirmed to the nation that the United States defender MWAMBA has secured Zambian citizenship.
About 6 days ago, on one of the radio stations, I did promise the nation that the issue of MWAMBA's passport will be dealt with. At that point, I did indicate on the program that the association working with the government and other authorities had made tremendous progress in the last few days, and I had promised that in the next few days this issue will be behind us. Now I'm pleased to announce to the nation that this afternoon we managed to get MWAMBA's passport, which has been an elusive issue over the last few months. And here is his passport. I'm sure you can see that is Mavika. I'm not too sure whether his details are subject to public scrutiny, but that's a passport. We have Mavika's passport. It's right in my hands. And so what we've done as an association as well is to contact the player so that he now makes his final position and makes arrangements with the members of the technical bench so that he can join his colleagues who are training in South Africa. So I'm pleased to inform the nation that this issue is now behind us. MWAMBA's passport right here with me.
That sporting note brings us to the end of our news tonight. But before we go, the headlines once again. The LUSAKA High Court has set June 22nd for the sentencing of the 2 abductors. Antonio MWANZA ditches PF as MWAMBA wishes him well. Names of shortlisted candidates under the Defense Wing's recruitments to be unveiled. In international news, the World Health Organization declares end to Marburg virus outbreak. And in sports news, CHIPOLOPOLO intensified training ahead of game against Ivory Coast. Our comment verse of the day is coming from 1 Peter chapter 4 verse 14. If you are insulted because of the name of Christ, you are blessed, for the spirit of glory and of God rests on you. Thank you again for watching Camnet Television News. I'm Jeffrey Ziambo. Bye-bye.